Thank you. Thank you. So, my name is Bart Skorupa, and I'm the co-founder and executive director of Groundwork Opportunities, or GO for short. And our mission is to create a world beyond poverty by investing in groundbreaking ideas and empowering entrepreneurs. And I'm going to tell you the story of us and me through the lens of vision. Vision is something I don't think I fully had early on in life. I was blessed with a lot of opportunities, and as mentioned, I worked at a great number of companies in the field of strategy and management consulting. And it was an opportunity I really liked, and I learned a lot, but there was no why behind my work. So building these large-scale APIs for Fortune 500 companies taught me a lot and built a great amount of experience. But after 90-hour work weeks, after 8 years, I found myself at an office at 3 a.m. on a Sunday here in San Francisco and thought, what am I doing with my life? So I did what any logical person would do. I quit my job and I moved to Madagascar. My mom hated this idea, but for me it was an escape. It was a way to search and try something new. And I had this amazing opportunity to work with this nonprofit called Blue Ventures. And we worked with these local communities. This is actually the beach that we lived on and the communities we worked with, setting up sustainable fisheries and doing coral reef research underwater. And while wonderful, we had no access to clean water. We were in the ocean almost every day, and I wore contacts. And I had a corneal ulcer develop that ate away the vision in my left eye. It was a bacterial infection that's incredibly painful. It's like somebody constantly poking your eye hour after hour. And I couldn't sleep. I lost from lights to shadows to complete darkness. And then when that happened, a hurricane hit. So when the hurricane hit, nothing could evacuate me. We were in a very remote area of Madagascar, away from any quick evacuation. And even no boat rescue could happen because of the swells in the ocean. So I was taken to a Catholic mission where a local doctor that was partially paralyzed, he had only full use of one arm, had these two instruments. He put the popsicle sticks in my mouth for the pain and just took out a knife and scraped the ulcer out of my eye. And the reason was that it could spread to my other eye and I would be completely blind. And I remember when that happened, I thought I'd open my eye and I'd see again, but I saw nothing. And I thought, the very first thought was, I'll never play pool again. You know, and depth perception is helpful for that. But what actually happened was over the course of a few weeks, and I was in this other community far away, I actually started to get my vision back. Day by day, it started to return, and he actually healed my eye and even gave me a greater vision on life. This doctor in the middle of nowhere, in this area that suffers from extreme poverty, that's underserved, has amazing leaders. And that was the very first idea behind Go, was to be able to find amazing leaders that anywhere that are suffering from extreme poverty and provide them the resources, particularly financial capital, to help scale their ventures. We would listen to their ideas. There are amazing leaders out there. Leaders like Peter Luswada. Peter runs a model development farm in Uganda. He was our very first investment. We started 5 years ago, all self-funded, with 3 people working nights and weekends. And we put all of our money into Peter. His vision was to build a farm that would teach farmers how to grow their food better. So not only would they be fighting malnutrition, they'd be able to use farms as a business, that he would be able to teach them rainwater harvesting, cross-fertilization of crop, animal husbandry. And as they grew individually, they'd be formed into cooperatives where they could sell their produce at scale. And he had this amazing vision, a wonderful plan, a lovely human being. He just didn't have any money to start. And so we raised our first amount of money between the 3 of us. The $10,000 started the farm. It started to grow. And like most nonprofits, we entered donor fatigue. We were finding it hard to continue raising through our friends and family. And 3 years ago, everything changed with Sarah. Sarah came out as a volunteer from London. She took 2 weeks of holiday, found us somehow through a friend of a friend of a friend, and said, I just want to go and meet Peter and work on the farm. She loved farming. And came back to London, changed. She saw everything Peter was doing, and Peter had told her, I've done all this with Go, and now I want to build a biogas plant to run my farm off a clean source of energy. And Sarah said, I will run. for you. Sarah's nickname was Glitter Girl. No one thought she could actually run. She was huge on the Burning Man scene and raves, and no one thought at her age and with her lifestyle she would actually be able to run a marathon, but she proved them all wrong. She created a page online, a crowdfunding page, and said, I am quitting drinking, I'm quitting smoking, and I'm going to run this marathon, and I'm going to raise the $6,000 Peter needs to build this biogas plant. She ended up running the Paris Marathon in about 6.5 hours and raised $12,000. That gave the funds that Peter needed to build the biogas plant. We collected all the stories from the ground and sent it off to Sarah and all her donors and showed them exactly what happened, which is what we do. We pair ideas with support. We find amazing people like Peter and pair them with champions, people that will raise the funds and build the awareness by telling stories of these amazing leaders. Now, here was the problem about Sarah. 3 years ago, we didn't have technology. We used a third-party site that charged 8%. Crowdfunding sites like Kickstarter and Indiegogo, while great when you're first starting, they take a pretty significant cut. And Sarah raised $12,000. 8% of that is $850. So we asked ourselves, how hard would it be to build our own? And we were at that time, 3 years ago, our total budget for the year was $75,000. We were 3 people. And we still made that IT investment, and we built our own platform that we call GoodForce. It's built off a Salesforce CRM engine. I saw that slide by Linda that 85% of companies in 5 years will have an API. We did it when we were 3 people at a $75,000 budget. Corporate American catch-ups. And we launched it about 2.5 years ago with a promise that everyone that used it, every penny, 100% of their donations would go to cause. And I'll explain why that's so important for us and why owning our own technology is so important. And we couldn't have done it without the Salesforce Foundation that provided us the ideas, the know-how, and especially the licenses to make that happen. For such a small organization at that time, it was a massive investment, and it really helped us scale. So all we are really now is a matchmaker with no fee. We find amazing people like Peter, and we pair them. And we've been doing this over and over and over. As I said, 3 years ago, we were about $75,000 and 3 people. This year, we'll be raising between $1.5 to $2 million for causes around the world. And a lot of it is because of the 100% cause to promise. So how does that work? How do you give away everything you have and still have the money you need to invest in your IT, pay your staff, have rent, salaries, etc.? Well, you split your company in half. And on the public-facing side, we have a site where we highlight all the projects. Individual, small investments, $1,000, $2,000, $5,000, something that somebody could run a race like Sarah did or have a birthday and create real change. And we tell them, and they tell all of their supporters, every penny will go to this well. Every penny will go to this biogas plant. And we have a separate group of individuals, businesses, and foundations that pay for our operations, and that we call that the community. And the reason this works so well is twofold. On Sarah's side, and all champions, they have this magical thing called trust. It's really hard these days to know where your money is going when you donate. On our site, it's very specific. It's going to go to this project, and 100% every penny goes to the cause. And one of the other things with owning our own API solution is that we have all this data, and we're vociferous eaters of data. We are big on test, hypothesis, test, and analyze the data. And now crowdfunding, as it's become much larger, your typical nonprofit crowdfunding site will raise $660. On our site, we raise $4,445 per champion, so about 7 times the industry average. And we do polling and ask our champions and also surveys to the donors to see why they're giving in such large amounts. On the other side is the community. So what do we tell them? And this is a much smaller in terms of sheer number. Of the 10,000 odd donors we have about 60, 80 individuals, businesses, organizations that support our operations. And to them, we report a different metric. We call it the social return on investment, and tell them the value of building platforms like ours, and the value of marketing them, and the value of inspiring champions, and especially training them in better fundraisers. So how do we actually calculate that? What does that metric look like? Well, last year, we raised a total of $700,000. $600,000 of that was directly by people like Sarah, Joe. We've had 11-year-olds run marathons, half marathons. They're not allowed to run full marathons yet. Students, corporate executives, grandmothers. And then that cost us, our entire operating budget was about $110,000. And so that means for every dollar given to our operations, we create $6 of project funding. So that's the metric that we look at. And we are changing the name of charitable giving to focusing it more like a company. The people that are in our community are shareholders. They believe in what they're doing and they know the value that technology has in helping build a world beyond poverty. And that's how it works. And to give you a sense of our scale, we are now about 7 people here and a few that are around the world as field reports sending back all the stories. We have about 30 partners like Peter, mostly in Africa, some in Southeast Asia, and an ever-growing number in South America, and looking for ones here because there is areas that are underserved in our own communities. They are on our platform about 150 champions that are raising about $4,400 on average that are helping an estimated 40,000 people per year. And I even checked this figure and it's way off. As we get more and more reports back from the field, we realize this slide, which was only made a few weeks ago, is not even capturing the full amount of impact of people that are helping get out of poverty and forever. So how does this work? How do you get to that sort of scale and with such a lean operation? Well, Peter has many ideas. A model development farm needs to be able to teach farmers a lot of things. You need to teach animal husbandry, a pig farm, a goat farm, a cow farm. You need to have a grain mill. A grain mill is great because it increases the profit that the farmers grow, and it also gets them to the model development farm. It's a great way of marketing. Literally hundreds of people come to Peter's farm every day to mill their crop, and they start learning new techniques. You need water, obviously for growth and growing of crops, but also for the sanitation purposes and having a clean source of water. You need the biogas plant, as we spoke about, to power the thing. You need beehives. Peter's now teaching small-scale businesses, agricultural ventures that are just outside of the typical farming area, how to make beeswax, honey. They even have a sewing machine class now that have at their training center. And the training center, when we first built the farm, it was all outdoors. And it was beautiful because a large population is illiterate. So they don't have the ability to learn through presentations or fancy documents. It's not going to be effective. But they can learn on site. The problem was 3 months of the year, it's rain season, and we had to interrupt classes, so we built the training center. And what do all of these things have in common? Well, they're pieces of a much bigger puzzle that's helping Peter impact 250,000 people. And all of them have one thing in common, is that they were all funded by champions. People from all walks of life that visit our site, hear about us on our social media, through our website, through our events, and say, I will help you build that. A sense of ownership. Not only are they helping, but something that they're directly a part of. And here's one of our biggest mistakes, and I hope this was helpful for all organizations, nonprofit or for-profit. We talked about this a lot in our last website launch about 1.5 years ago, and we rebuilt everything. We started to get more champions. We had a very simple website 2.5 years ago. The very first platform, we were literally writing things directly in production. Now we're a little bit fancier. We talk about it as a platform. We had last year maybe 10 champions right away start on our platform. We had them upload their picture on our platform, and we analyzed how much they were raising. But we realized it was bigger than that. It was, sorry, I hit the wrong button. It was more than just a platform. We were not building a platform. We were building a community. And that's a massive difference in your language and how you approach. Because a platform is a simple foundation for people. A community is how we can bond all together. Software, people like on the ground, Peter, champions like Sarah, and even hackathons. I mean, as we've started to grow, we've needed help. And we've had people donating code. They're all members of a greater community, none more than the Salesforce Foundation, which has helped us immensely. It was so difficult for us we would have never been able to afford what we needed if we built it on our own, but the Salesforce Foundation provided that with their 1-for-1 model, their 1% model. 1% of time, equity, and licenses go to nonprofits. That gave us the start that we needed, and is my challenge to the audience. What is the 1% that you can give from your companies, from your time? We have a hackathon in 2 weeks. Adobe's hosting us. We come ready with a team of dedicated volunteers and staff, say this is what we need to fix on our site, and we go through them and bang them through. And it builds great team building because they're getting to work on something and applying their skills. And as Linda mentioned as well, she had that wonderful graph of money is not the top object. If you think about the hackathons, the spirit of them is we're building something beyond ourselves, and we let people get creative. And it's really helped our platform grow. Gift cards are another. That was one of the ideas that came out of a recent hackathon of, as we started having more champions, they wanted to give donation gift cards, and companies have sponsored those and reward their top employees by giving out $25, $50 gift cards so they can support ideas like Peter has to help end poverty. And it's all been amazing when we started thinking about the communities and everything behind them, because the real key thing behind community, the real thing that's helped us grow, it's wonderful that how much each individual champions, how much they raise. But 10,000 years ago, we were a storytelling culture. We passed our histories down via oral history from families to larger communities. And about 80 years ago, we became a broadcast culture. Things came to us through TV and radio, and only the real crazy people thought when you talk back to it, they'll actually hear. But now we're coming back to being a storytelling culture. Through the advent of social media, the number of stories each of our champions tells about Go and Peter and all the other entrepreneurs we support, that's the key thing. That's the part that's really helping us grow and has been the inflection point. The technology has helped us get there, but it's Michelle's words. Michelle was one of the very first people that used our new platform a year and a half ago and raised $4,000 for the first well that was built at Peter's farm, and actually traveled out there. She and I worked together back when I was at Solemn Consulting at Walmart.com, and she heard about what we were doing and just wanted to get involved. And this is her. She was drinking from the well, and it was amazing how much she raised, but it's the more important part is the storytelling aspect, that the ever-growing number of traffic that's coming to our site, hearing about our work. And by owning our own solution, we're able to control that and grow upon that. And on that subject of storytelling, I do my best to convey everything that's happening on the ground and telling the story, but there's no way of me actually capturing that as well as hearing it directly from the people involved. And so I'm beyond excited to be able to tell you that Peter's actually here today. It was our 5th birthday last night in San Francisco. And it was just a stroke of luck that we had that at the same time. And so I'd like for you to hear directly from Peter, who's traveled all the way from Uganda and is literally building a middle class in Uganda. Please, for a round of applause for Peter. I'll give you the stage. I'm going to go off.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Hi, everybody. Hello. Hello. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Mashley Company, thank you very much for mashing the ideas. It's the ideas that help us to thrive. It's the technology that you come up with help us to thrive. As you know, in Africa, and Uganda is not exemptional, I'm from Uganda, and I'm Peter Francis Ruswata. I run the projects that are sponsored by Groundwork Opportunities. It's a joy to see that my vision and the vision of other African leaders that really want a good change in Africa, fighting for justice, fighting for peace, fighting for tranquility, and to get beyond poverty. We've been given a chance to help our fellow Africans through the technologies that all your businesses are trying to bring in the market to make money, but also to help people to have a voice, to speak for themselves, to help the people, to do small businesses, to make their lives better, for health, improve education, improve infrastructure, even the feeding itself. That's why we are doing agriculture as one of our primary projects, and it's really big. As Bart told you, as we speak today, it's been 5 years ago. We started very small with 1 acre, 2 animals, birds, cows, and a few things. And we wanted to start small, but looking beyond with a bigger vision. My belief is this is the only way for Africa to go forward. And we really want to do good business and compete on the world market. And these are the skills we've been training our farmers to do their farming businesses much, much better, looking at quality, quantity, and community. How would we work together with the rest of the world? So my project is a place we've built to welcome all people of any color, of any language, from any country, that you can come and learn something from there. As we are learning from you, but when you come to our projects, you will never be the same, because we are all struggling to make a better world. And I invite you, we have a platform for volunteers that come to visit our projects in Uganda and the other projects in Africa. This October we'll have 1 trip coming over, and we receive large groups. We've built infrastructures that can house big numbers of volunteers. But one of the things I want to do is to make sure that young people, we invest much of our time and resources in them, especially in Africa. But in doing so, it's a two-way traffic. I'm also trying to build the future of the children, of young people from the United States, from Europe, from other parts of Africa, or the rest of the world, to come to us to learn how we are doing. It's the change we want to see. So I invite you to be agents of change in your businesses, in your families, in your churches, in your communities, in your clubs, all kinds of social classes. Let's be a change. The world needs us most now, and it's the time we must all stand up and do something to change our world, to change our neighbors, to change our families. And this is the calling, it's the journey we must all take to bring our businesses, help the rest of the world. I want to thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to be here, to talk to you, to listen to my story. I welcome you to Uganda, and let's struggle together, work together, and make this world a better place to live. Thank you.